Hey everyone, here we have Bake Sale printed and ready for play. So before we're ready to play it though, let's go ahead and take a look at how we play it. Bake and Sale takes place over a full week. And each day in that week, you're going to get 8 hours to do any of these tasks that you want to do with the means to make the most money at the end of the game. You can make money different ways by gaining fame, by baking bread, and fulfilling retail orders or holding on to that bread to fulfill wholesale orders at the end of the game. In the solo mode, you're also trying to win these awards by meeting different thresholds, and we'll get into those in a little bit. Let's first take a look at how the day begins. As I said before, each day you're going to have 8 hours to spend. You can spend them going around the sheet. There's different icons that tell you the price to do those actions. You can't roll over any hours into the next day. We know that's not how the real world works. And you cannot spend more hours than you have allotted. So if I had 2 hours left and I wanted to bake the Baker Special, I couldn't because I just don't have enough hours in the day. Before we spend any hours in our day, we always have to roll our dice roll. That's the first thing starting every round. These dice are the dice pool you'll use to determine which goods are available at the supplier's market. Let's take a look at the supplier's market. The supplies market is one of the available actions that you can take on your day if you have enough hours to spend. When you visit the supply market, you use the dice pool that was rolled to determine what supplies are available at the market, and you use your business size to determine how many resources you actually get to take. So in this case, I would be able to take 2 resources when I went to the market, and I would either be able to grab one high gluten flour, 2 all-purpose flour. I couldn't grab any yeast. I don't have that number. I could also grab some olive oil or some eggs, but not butter. When taking items at the market, you simply circle the items you want to take, and wherever you last circled, whatever section you last circled in, is the amount of time that it would take. So I here would cross out 2 times in my day going to the market. I spent 2 hours doing that. As you visit the market, you continue to circle items you're taking. When you cross the threshold into a more timely market, you then gain a benefit jumping into the next level. Here, you would gain the star immediately, a rolling pin immediately, and a thumbs up immediately. And we're going to talk about what those symbols mean. But once you cross over it, you cross it out and you apply it somewhere on the sheet. As you spend resources, simply cross them out. I like to go from the left to the right as I spend them on baking breads or filling orders. As your business size increases, you cross off one and circle the other. And if you can make it all the way to a business size of 6, you'll earn a reward earning you $10 at the end of the game. The higher your business size is, the more dice you get to use when you take the supply market action. Another available action that you can spend your time at is the visiting a building action. Here are different building types that have different costs of time to use them, but let's take a look at what they give you. If you go to the building network, you get to cross off 1 thumbs up on the fame track. At the end of the game, for each fame track that has been fully crossed out, you'll gain that much money. So in this example, if I had these 2 rows out, I would add that 6 and 7 and earn $13 when it came to my fame. The local supplier, you spend 2 time and you get any 2 of the black dice resources. The retail store, you spend 2 time and you fulfill 1 retail order. Some just need resources, others need different bread types. You would cross those resources out and circle that price that you sold that retail order for. Baking Academy, you spend 2 time and you get to cross off one of these stars. These stars are multipliers, will add to your multipliers when deciding the wholesale orders, so it's a great way to really burst up your scores. The rolling lab, spend 2 time and you get to roll or cross out a rolling pin. This is very important because you can't bake breads that haven't been discovered yet. Here you know how to make a baguette and a ciabatta at the beginning of the game. But if you want the brioche or the sourdough or the bakery special, you're going to have to circle all of those, and you're going to have to circle and obtain all those rolling pins. You can obtain those rolling pins either at the rolling lab or when you pass the threshold here for yeast or olive oil. Lastly, on this row is the baking consultant, and here it is indicated that you can only visit that once per day, meaning any of these other houses or buildings you can visit multiple times in the day as long as you have the hours in the day to get there. However, at the business or the bakery consultant, you can only do it once, and that's going to be where you increase your business size. You spend 2 time, you would cross out your current business size, and you would circle the new one. If we take a look at the bottom row of our building, this is where we get a little bit more intensive to it. Here at the hiring agency, you can visit there and get an extra hour in the day, but it will cost you 3 points. $3 at the end of the day, at the end of the game for each time you visited. So if I visited the hiring agency 3 times, I would have circled 3 of these hourglasses, meaning I would have had 3 more hours to add to my time. However, I would lose 9 victory points, or 9 cash at the end of the game due to my visits to the hiring agency. The voluntary agency also works in the same way. Every time I visit, I'm going to be able to gain an hour to spend in a day whenever I get it. I don't have to spend it the time when I circle it. They're there banked and I can use them whenever I want. However, instead of 3 cash, I have to pay 3 supplies that I've gathered in order to take this action. The friendly baker costs 3 time and is a way to mitigate the dice rolls that you have at the beginning of each round. Here in this one, either you can move a 1 or a 4 of the white dice to any of the black dice that you want to use. So you can use a white 1 as a black 6 or a white 4 as a black 4 so that you can mitigate those dice rolls. The stock room is exactly the same thing in dice mitigation. Spend 3 time. This time, before you decide to place the dice into the supplier's market and take their goods, you can swap the color from black to white. So you do a whole swap of each set. The thing about this is you have to move all of the dice. It's not just one of them. So you have to make a full commitment of switching all of the dice their color. The marketing agency and the supermarket are part of the end game scoring. If you visit the marketing agency and spend 3 time, you unlock this row of fame. So not only could you get the 6, 7, 8, and 9, but you could also get the 16 points if you unlock enough fame. The supermarket here, when you visit there, you spend 3 time and you get just $8. You can get up to $16 by visiting the supermarket twice. The third and final way to spend time in the day is actually baking your breads. You have the availability to make 6 different types of breads, but at the beginning of the game you could only make a baguette or a ciabatta because you have the rolling pins discovered. Again, going to that rolling lab or increasing your or activating rolling pins from taking supplies are the ways to increase those rolling pins so you can learn how to make different types of bread. If you look at a specific bread, we see that they have their bread name. These are the materials you would need in order to bake it, meaning you would cross them off. And that's the time it takes for you to bake that type of bread. But so we can see it doesn't take long to make a baguette, but a sourdough will take almost a third of half of your day. So you need to be mindful of the length of time the bread needs to bake. Let's take a look at underneath here. These are the number of loaves you can produce of that type. You can't produce more than 8 loaves in a game. Next to it is the threshold for each time you make and go back and bake a baguette. You're going to circle. So the first time you make some baguette, you're going to circle this 2. The second time you make it later on in the game or later on in the day, you're going to circle the 4. And if you make it 3 times, you're going to unlock all of these so that you can get a possibility of 12 points for baking a baguette 3 different times. When baking, you can bake as many breads as you need or as can afford with your supplies. So if I had 3 high gluten flour and I had 3 yeast, I could circle 3 of these in 1 hour. And it would only cost me the 1, and that would be the first time I produce it. Okay? Then later on, I have 2 more of each of those. I come back and I spend an hour baking 2 more loaves. I would circle the 4. These are called quality stars, and you earn them by either going to the Baking Academy or unlocking them as you gather more of your materials from the supplies market. What they do is at the end of the game, they're going to be added to the number that you would multiply. So for example, at the end of the game, for our wholesale orders, we're going to look at baguettes. We're going to look at how many we have. We have 5 really badly circled baguettes. So we fall into this range. A baguette is 2 per, but if I had circled 2 of these, they would now be 4 per. So now I would do 5 times 4 and get $20 for those loaves because of my increased quality stars. Here is the retail orders that you can fill in the game. You fill retail orders by going to the retail store and spending 2 time. You then would either cross out the resources that you're spending to fill the order or cross out the bread loaves that you're using to fill the order. See, each one of these has 3 numbers. They indicate which one's here. So to fill this one, a 2, 3, and 4, I would need the ciabatta, I would need the focaccia, and I would need the brioche. So I'd have to cross off one of each of those. Once I do that, I would gain $16. At the end of the game, at the end of the 7th day, after you've spent all your hours, you're going to calculate your end game score by adding the money you made from wholesale orders. Again, that's checking how many loaves you have, which bracket you're in. Checking that number that you'd multiply the number of bread by, and then adding any quality stars to it if you have them. You would indicate then you would do that for each loaf type that you produced. Next, you would add the money for your retail orders. Any of your circled amounts you would add together. After that, you would add the money you earned from the fame track. So any of these amounts that you circled, you'd add together and add to your total. After that, any money that you earned from buildings, the supermarket or the marketing agency, you would add to that total. After that, you would add the money that you made for frequently producing a type. So any of these that you circled, you would add all of them. Not just the top one, but you would add every single one of them to that total. After that, you're going to earn $10 per award here in Solo. So if you produce 3 different types of bread, you'd get 10 points. If you gain 5 quality stars, if you circled 5 of those, you'd get $10. If you produce 15 loaves in total, you have to have 15 loaves produced. You can have spent those loaves. You just need to have produced 15 in the course of the game. Here, best known, if you've gained 9 fame tokens, cross them out, you're going to get 10 points at the end of the game. And your best manufacturer, if you've increased your business size to 6, you'll get 10 points at the end of the game. After adding that all up, you'll take $3 away for each time you visited the hiring agency, and that is going to be your final score. When playing solo, you can either decide to which level you're baking at first for win-loss condition, or you can just compare your score to these lists of scores here. And that is how you play Bake and Sail. That's another episode of Han Solo Board Gaming in the books. You're seeing 2 videos on your screen right now. One was put there by artificial intelligence, tracking your every move, and one was put there by me. Make sure you click on the one you prefer so we can see who knows you better. Until next time, thanks for watching.